Good afternoon. We're at Ensigns to the Nations, and we're going to walk around the temple.
Yay!
Yeah, here we go. So this is Doctrine and Covenants 109. No, yeah. 109 and 110. And from our Come Follow Me lesson, and we will discuss it as we circle around the Saratoga Springs Temple.
The temple is on Ensign Drive. That's where the address is. And we live on Ensign Drive, and that's our last name too. So we thought it was kind of cool to have some fun walking around the temple and talking about Jesus, specifically the Come Follow Me lesson. We got Jonah here today. Jonah's just visiting for the day from BYU.
Woo!
We're glad he's here. And we got Maya, and she's freaking awesome. Yay for Maya. Yay. So, section 109 is the dedication of the Kirtland Temple.
Oh, and hey, let me just say, on our very first episode, we talked about how we were going to do this every week, and we were going to do it in rain or shine, and everybody, it is raining. This is the first week that we have actually done it in the rain, so
that's pretty good.
Kept our promise. Not raining hard, but it is raining.
Let's see what we do when it's snowing. Okay, so section 109 is the dedication of the Kirtland Temple. Just a little bit of history here. So we know back in December of 1832 and January 1833, we received Joseph received section 88 of the Doctrine and Covenants. It was what he called the olive leaf, and there they were told to build a house of God. Remember, they said a house of prayer and a house of fasting and a house of worship, house of glory, even a house of God. So they were commanded to do that, but it was a little while before they did that, because it wasn't until June of 1833, about 6 months later, that Doctrine and Covenants section 95 was done, and the Lord kind of got after the saints for not doing anything so far with that. So they have they did do a couple of things. They had a committee where Hiram Smith, and they had Reynolds Calhoun, and they had Jared Carter. Those guys were the building committee, and they were supposed to start figuring out how to get money for it. But in section 95, he chastised the saints, and then he said, a commandment that you should build a house in which to endow those with power from on high. And he told them to not build it after a manner of men, but after the manner that he will show. And of course, does everybody remember like the vision that Joseph Smith and his counselors had about the temple?
In the temple, or?
No, about the temple. It was before it was even built. I think it was probably upstairs in the Newell K. Whitney store where Joseph had his office, and it's where they did the School of the Prophets. They had this vision where, and all three of them saw it, they saw the temple in kind of like a 3D thing. And then they went inside of the temple. It went over them, and they were inside the temple, and they could see the whole thing. And so that's why Joseph knew this is going to be a special building. It's not a building like anything else. So things were going okay. Fall of 1833, they laid some foundation walls. April of 1834, they did a little bit. They didn't know what to do because it wasn't working out. They weren't getting good bricks, and so they found out about this guy named Artemis Millet, who lived up in Canada, and he was interested in the church. And Joseph told somebody, I don't remember who, go up there and baptize him, and then bring him down here so he can work on the temple. And that's exactly what they did. And Artemis Millet was really good, and he said, hey, we should do something more like stucco. And so they build these walls with stone, and then they put them in with stucco. And if you've ever seen the outside of the temple in Kirtland, then that's what it looks like. It's nice and smooth with the stucco. And it's also a little bit shiny and sparkly. Do you guys know why it's shiny and sparkly?
Because stucco?
It's because something that's mixed in with the stucco. Do you know what it is?
No.
It's
China.
Yeah,
the
China.
Families donated their china, and it got
They smashed it all
smashed up, and bits of it
Yep.
are in there to make it sparkle.
Right. So then in on May 27th, 1836, March 27th, sorry, Doctrine and Covenants 109 was received with Joseph Smith and written and helped out with Sidney Rigdon, and that was the dedication of the Kirtland Temple. It was 3 days after that that the Lord appeared to Joseph in the Kirtland Temple. And then it was 4 days after that that Moses and Elijah and Elias appeared to Joseph Smith in the Kirtland Temple. So it's like the Lord was really waiting for this temple to be built, dedicated, and then boom, we get lots of good stuff. Some of the good stuff that we get when we are participating in the blessings of the temple. In verse 5 of Doctrine and Covenants 109, he says, "The Son of Man might have a place to manifest himself unto the people." And so this is manifesting himself, a place to go. This is like God's house. What do we call the temple? We call it God's house. If we were to ask you, where does God live? Some people would say, oh, he lives in heaven, or it's far away, or whatever. He lives right across the street from us. You know, and he lives in 208 different places in the country. So that's pretty cool. And of course, we then, like I said, 3 days later, he did manifest himself. It's interesting the way he described it. He talked about his eyes being of fire. And he talked about his voice being that of the rushing waters. And think about how the rushing waters affect you. Allison, what do you like about the rushing waters? When we're stressed or with something like that and we go and buy some water, how do you like that?
Well, he's asking me because I do feel it's healing. I love it. I can just be on a boat and look at the water. I can walk along a river, and I say it every time. You're probably tired of hearing it from me, but it is calming and I feel as though it's healing my soul.
And even the other day, we came here to the temple, and they have a water feature at the Saratoga Springs Temple with some waterfalls, and we sat on the bench next to it, and we just talked, and it was a healing time. Okay, done.
Okay, we're about a quarter of the way.
Oh, it's not a quarter.
Down my street. But I want to talk about how good things come from difficult things. And so the temple, the Kirtland Temple, historians have made the claim that it is actually the most expensive building that the church has made, including temples, in proportion to the poverty of the saints of the time, the number of saints and their amount of money that they had to build it with. So, in other words, they had to sacrifice a lot to make that temple. And we were there not very long ago, a couple of months ago, and it's not a huge temple, but no. For that day and age, it was a big undertaking.
It was the biggest building around.
Yes, it was. And so, but the thing that is really interesting about it is as you go through section 109, it is one verse after another of talking really, well, it was the dedicatory prayer, but it is outlined in there all of these blessings that are going to come from it. So out of all this sacrifice and poverty, all of these blessings came to pass. And of course, this week has been hard for our family because the three of us were at the Charlie Kirk assassination. So we've been emotional and going through a rough healing time. And so we've been thinking a lot about that and all of the horror and anxiety and flashbacks and everything that has happened to our family. And just now we watched the memorial service, and we were able to see just a glimpse of how the Lord's hand works. And it was even mentioned that, you know, he had said many times, use me as a servant. And several speakers said that our Heavenly Father did that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, out of difficult things, Heavenly Father's hand is there, and good things can come of it. His pathway and what he would like to have happen can come forth. And so some of the things that I really like that it said is, for thou knowest that we have done this work through great tribulation, and out of poverty we have given of our substance to build a house to thy name, that the Son of Man might have a place to manifest himself to his people, as you said. So that's an amazing thing, a place where the Son of Man can manifest himself. But then it goes on to say even more. And as all have not faith, seek ye diligently and teach one another words of wisdom. Yea, seek ye out of the best books words of wisdom. Seek learning, even by study and also by faith. So, I mean, there's so many things like that in this section. Seek learning, seek out the best books, look for those classics, look for the books written by our prophets and great historians and knowledgeable people that can really influence our lives. So, you know, that's a wonderful thing. And then organize yourselves, prepare every needful thing, establish a house of prayer, fasting. Oh, we could just go down verse by verse and look at all of these blessings and promises that will happen because this temple has been dedicated. And then I think probably one of my favorites is in verse 22, so I just want to say one more. And we ask thee, Holy Father, that thy servants may go forth from this house armed with thy power, and that thy name may be upon them, and thy glory be round about them, and thine angels have charge over them. So they're promised they're going to have great experiences in the temple, but as they go forth from this house, they will be armed with power.
Yep.
And thy glory be around about them, and thine angels have charge over them. So not just blessings of attending the temple, but as they go forth, they'll be protected.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we are now in Lighthouse, and the kids like to say something about lighthouses or apostles or prophets. What you got, my bye?
So I watched this video of Elder Rasband, and he was at a temple. I don't remember which one.
It was in Ivory Coast.
And he said that a week after the dedication, Jesus Christ appeared in the Kirtland Temple and said, I will manifest myself to my people in mercy in this house. And he taught that this promise applies to every dedicated temple today, which reminds us that temples and places not only of covenant and sacrifice, but of divine mercy, revelation, and spiritual standing.
Oh, yes, very good. I love those little snippets that the apostles and prophets say in the manual. They're always pretty good. Jonah, do you have anything to add?
Just that I think every time I go to the temple, I feel the Spirit really strong, and I think I learn a lot. I think that intelligence is the light of Christ.
Yeah.
And that learning about the plan of salvation in the temple is a huge blessing, and nowhere does I feel like everything makes the most sense as when I'm in the temple.
Right.
I think sometimes in normal life, the more you learn, it can make things even more confusing, actually.
Right.
I think that people that are blissfully unaware of things are actually sometimes a lot happier than people who are very educated.
Right.
And that is not true at all when it comes to gospel subjects.
That's a good point, yeah.
When it comes to the scriptures, people who know more about the scriptures are happier, and they have a strong relationship with God, and that's so learning the most that we can around Jesus and about his gospel will always make us feel safer and happier.
Right. The one interesting thing that I like about learning in the temple is, well, the temple's all about symbolism, right? Everything we do is symbolic, which means it really opens up interpretation to so many different things, different times of your life that's going to mean different things, you know, and if you really start thinking about the symbolism, you can learn a lot. Just think about like the symbolism of the mirrors in the ceiling room. You know, often you go into the ceiling room when you're in there to get married or whatever, and you look in both ways and you can see it forever down one way and forever down the other way. And it's to teach us about the eternal nature of ourselves and of our families and all that.
Well, I think it's neat too, Jonah's point that it's not going to be the case that the more you learn, you don't have to be afraid you're going to learn things that will turn you away by studying the scriptures or by studying these great books that we're talking about. If you're studying the right things, if you're seeking out the best books and words of wisdom, but your testimony will strengthen the more you know, like Jonah said. And that also reminded me of Joy Jones, who came to speak to our stake a few years ago, and she talked about how she got to be with a lot of the general authorities and the prophet face to face and had discussions with them, and you know, got to know them on a level that most of us never will. We just hear them speak in public, but she had conversations with them and had meals with them and got to know their families, and she said, you know, it's not the case where you get close up and you start to really see all of the faults because now you can. She said she just testified that is not the case with these men. That the more she gets to know them, actually it was the opposite, that her faith in them grew, and she was more and more impressed to see them in their real lives and the service that they gave and the way they lived their life and what they testified of. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, just
learning. It's certainly a place of learning. Another thing that I read in section 109 is talking about how it's a place where we can receive power, and then I looked at who knows what they sang there in the temple dedication.
I know that at least they sang Spirit of God.
Spirit of God. That was written just for that.
And when we visited, we sang that in there. They passed around the words, and
that's right.
Just our tour group sang it.
They sing that every single temple dedication. All 208 temples that we have currently, they've sing it at every single one of them, and it's pretty cool.
And one thing I learned too is, you know, they got this revelation for the prayer before they gave it, and they just read it.
Right.
Did you know that? And they do that.
Yes, they still do that.
They still do that with every temple dedication prayer.
I looked up the words, and most people know the words of that song, Spirit of God, but I think it helps us understand the kind of power that we can get from the temple. The Spirit of God, like a what is burning? Like a fire is burning, right? And so power is fire. They talk about angels are coming, armies of heaven, knowledge, like Jonah said, visions and blessing, crowned with blessings, and a chariot of fire, all awesome blessings and blessings of power that we can have, and it's that power that we can use to overcome the issues that we might have during our lifetimes. So that's pretty cool. Any thoughts, stories about the temple, how it's helped you?
I've just had some great experiences in the temple of testimony, feeling the people that I'm doing the work for being there. Difficult times, feeling like angels are strengthening me while I'm there.
Yeah. I know a couple who went there contemplating their family and breaking up a family, and as they sat there and prayed in the celestial room, somebody came to them, a worker, and said, I just want to let you know that everything's going to be okay and you're doing the right thing. Right thing meaning staying together. So I thought it was an amazing little coincidence and even miracle that that happened. So it's definitely a place of knowledge and comfort and love and everything.
Hurry up.
All right, well, we made it all the way
came
around.
On, so we're done.
Just came on.
Thanks for joining us.
All right, see you next time on
Ensigns
to the Nations. Are you not gonna do that again?
Nah.